After refusing to finance my daughter-in-law's 50,000 cruise, I discovered her incredible hidden secret the day Kim burst into my garage, her eyes sparkling like a brand new engine's chrome. I could sense trouble brewing. "Jerry, you won't believe it. I found the most amazing birthday cruise." She didn't pause for breath. Her excitement felt physical, buzzing around the small space. I wiped the grease from my hands, squinting at her enthusiasm. "A cruise? 50 grand?" My gut clenched. That was more money than I made in a year turning wrenches and changing oil. "Kim, that's ridiculous. We're talking about a small fortune here." It was like I threw a bucket of ice water on her dreams. Her face fell, and I hated the tightness in my chest. This was the daughter-in-law I was supposed to support, wasn't it? But $50,000 for a birthday? "I just thought with everything going on it would be a nice escape for everyone," she replied, her voice trembling. My heart pounded, a byproduct of my long-held belief in hard work and resilience. Ambition was one thing, but this felt irresponsible. Mike is going to back me up on this. I know he'll help. The look in her eyes pierced through me. I was the old dog stuck in my ways, and she was the firecracker niece of new ideas. Yet, I could almost feel the judgment from the townsfolk with every passing moment. A mechanic who couldn't see beyond a paycheck. Days passed. The distance between me and my son, Mike, widened like the gap between a car and its rear axle. Every Sunday dinner felt strained, like a flat tire waiting for air. Mike was caught, navigating this tug-of-war with no clear path forward. I could see his loyalty was waning. The weight of expectations was pulling him in two directions. The town was hit with rain, heavier than I ever remembered. The river swelled and overflowed its banks. A wave of destruction swept through. Our small community, so tight-knit, turned out with buckets and shovels. When the flood struck, everything else faded. We were no longer neighbors or townspeople, we were family. "I'm here for you," I muttered to Mike as we worked side by side, pulling up soaked carpet from someone's home. United in survival. It struck me then the real richness in life isn't in big dreams, but in small acts of caring. Through the mud and chaos, I began to notice Kim while we all housed each other's hopes and fears. She didn't just want a vacation. She was organizing help for affected families. I caught her whispering words of encouragement to children, handing out food and blankets. Scrappy, with dirt smudged on her cheeks, she fought for our community like a soldier going to battle. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment of muddy reality, I discovered her secret too. Kim had been funding a charity for veterans, quietly setting aside her cruise dreams to help others. An explosion of emotion hit me. All these assumptions, all that stubbornness fading like the sun breaking through clouds. Would I let pride keep me from understanding who Kim really was? The realization shook me to my core, leaving me at a precipice. Could I break free from my hardened views and embrace a fuller truth about ambition? My heart raced. The tides of family loyalty were shifting, and now, as we stood amidst the wreckage, it felt like everything was at stake. Would I finally extend my hand toward healing, or let the flood of misunderstandings drown our family for good? Something inside me shifted as I watched Kim pulling together the community, her laughter mingling with the voices around her. I almost didn't recognize the woman who once stood in my garage, hopeful for a cruise. The pride I felt mixed with shame for my previous judgment was a weight I hadn't anticipated. "Jerry, can you pass me that tarp?" Her voice cut through my thoughts. I glanced at her, surprised by how her enthusiasm transformed the chaos around us. I handed her the tarp, and she flashed me a genuine smile, a spark of light in a muddy world. "Thanks," she shouted, her voice rising above the chatter. I felt the shift within our family like gears clicking into place. Maybe, just maybe, we all needed to recalibrate our expectations. As the sun finally began to peek through the clouds, it offered a moment of respite and reflection. I stood beside Mike as we took a break, our backs leaning against a flooded wall. All the noise rushed back in: the laughter of children playing in puddles, the clattering of buckets, the camaraderie of neighbors. I didn't know she was doing this, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Mike looked at me, his brow furrowed. I didn't either until last week. She never wanted to draw attention to it. I thought she was being reckless, but his voice trailed off, leaving an opening for something deeper. But she's not just planning a cruise? I murmured. No, Dad. She's doing something important. Something real. He stood straighter, fire igniting in his words. It matters more than 1,000 cruises. You should see her with those kids. She damn near puts the weight of the world on her shoulders and carries it with a smile. The admiration in his tone hit me like a bolt of lightning. There was more to Kim than I had originally grasped, and I had let my pride cloud my judgment. The last thing I wanted was to drive a wedge between my son and his wife because of my narrow views. Suddenly, our respite was interrupted by a shout coming from across the street. A small child had stumbled, crying as muddy water splashed around him. Before I could react, Kim was gone, sprinting towards him. She knelt down, her hands on his shoulders, talking to him softly. I watched as she pulled him into a hug, and in that moment, she became the heart of our community. Go back to helping, old man, Mike nudged me with a smile, pulling me from my reverie. She's doing fine. But I didn't want to leave her side anymore. I didn't want that distance between us. I pushed through the crowd, my head pale with the realization that I needed to make this right. As the waters receded and the needs grew, I searched for Kim among the chaos, desperate to tell her I understood. When I finally reached her, she was still crouched low, her laughter washing over the fears of that young boy. Her presence was like a lighthouse guiding lost ships back home. I swallowed hard, nerves rising with intent. Hey Kim, I started, but the words tangled in my throat. I know you're worried about everything, she said, pushing a strand of hair from her face. Her eyes turned serious, and the brightness dimmed slightly. I get it. But what I'm doing, it's about more than me. I took a deep breath, ready to bridge the gap between us. Let us talk. I want to understand. She glanced at me, uncertainty lurking behind her eyes like thunder in a storm. Really? Yes. I offered her my hand, extending an olive branch across the divide. As she took my hand, I felt like a door was opening, one that had been closed for too long. How far would we move together from this moment? In the distance, I could hear the first rumbling of the storm clouds again. Little did I know that this would be just the beginning. What would happen when we faced the thunder together? Would it strengthen us, or would it tear us apart? The sky darkened as I held Kim's hand, the storm clouds swirling ominously above us. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. It echoed my uncertainty about where we stood with each other. Kim, I began, feeling the weight of all our unspoken words. I'm sorry for doubting you. I've seen how much you care. Her eyes softened, but I could still detect flickers of hesitation. Thank you, Jerry. It hasn't been easy. I just want to help us all come together. Especially after everything this community has faced. I scanned the scene around us. People worked tirelessly, their hands moving in unison, stacking supplies, setting up makeshift shelters, and sharing laughter amidst the fear. Watching them filled me with a warmth I hadn't felt in a while. I realized maybe I underestimated what unity could really look like. We could do this together, I suggested, an idea taking root. I'm good with organizing. We could set up a schedule, maybe recruit more people. Kim's expression brightened. That would be amazing. We really need more volunteers to keep things running smoothly. A sense of excitement bloomed in my chest. It felt like we were not just bridging our gap, but stepping into a new territory of camaraderie, something I hadn't anticipated. But then the first heavy raindrops began to fall, a reminder that this storm wasn't about to pass without issue. Before I could process the change in our atmosphere, the rain broke loose, pouring down in sheets. The laughter vanished as people scrambled for cover. I lifted my arms to shield Kim from the deluge, but a wave of chaos quickly ensued. Kim was ready despite the sudden turmoil. Everyone back to the community center, she shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. There's more shelter there. Her confidence was contagious. I watched as faces lit up with determination, laughter returning in a different form, a resilience against the storm. Left and right, folks grabbed supplies, maneuvering their way through the mud, and I felt an urge to jump in. Let us go, I hollered, grabbing a box of canned goods, but I could hardly make my way through the suddenly crowded street. Kim squeezed my shoulder, urging me forward. Follow my lead. We weaved through the throng of people, the rain drenching us completely. But somehow it felt exhilarating. The laughter of kids splashed with joy mixed with relief jolted my spirit. Once inside the community center, the mood shifted from panic to action. We set up tables for assembling care packages while keeping an eye on the kids, who were racing around, finding solace in each other's highs and lows. I caught Kim watching them, a gentle smile on her face, as she manned the assembly line. It's moments like this that matter, she murmured to me, eyes brimming with passion. This is what we need, we're a family. My heart swelled. I couldn't help but think how foolish I had been, almost ruining this connection with my selfish ideas. I felt lucky to be part of something so significant, something that would mean so much more than any cruise could offer. But just as the excitement mounted, a thunderous boom echoed overhead, and I felt the ground quiver beneath my feet, a reminder of nature's power. The storm hadn't reached its climax yet. Let us keep moving, people, Kim shouted, her voice steady as ever. We're strong and we won't back down. And as her words rippled through the crowd, I noticed the doubt finally washing away from her expression. It was time for me to step up, to support her as she had done for others. But that thunderclap hadn't just threatened our sanctuary. It hinted at deeper challenges yet to reveal themselves. Would we truly stand together against not just the storm outside but the storms within? I realized I was on the verge of discovering how far my family could stretch amidst adversity. Would we find the strength to endure whatever came next? The storm roared outside the community center. But inside we worked in a whirlwind of energy. Boxes were piled high, laughter bubbled between people reminiscing about good times, and even the occasional shout from a child broke through the noise as the playful energy contorted in a beautiful mess. I found myself next to Kim, assembling the care packages as she expertly categorized items. Canned soups over here and toiletries over there, she instructed, her tone firm yet encouraging. I could feel the connection between us building, faster than I ever thought possible in a moment of chaos. Is it always like this? I asked, glancing at the young mothers sharing stories with one another, laughter escaping their lips despite the storm's drumming. Sometimes, Kim smiled, a brightness in her eyes. But it's moments like these that pull us together. When times get tough, you realize how strong you really are. Her words sank deep, and I couldn't help but marvel at her resilience. I was learning from her, witnessing the courage hidden behind her gentle demeanor. Just then the ground shook again, and a heavy thud vibrated through the building, as if the storm was trying to remind us of the danger lurking outside. That a single gasp echoed from the far side of the room, drawing attention. I turned to see a young girl, perhaps 7, clutching a tattered teddy bear with wide, frightened eyes. She was alone, separated from her family amidst the rush. I'll go, I said reflexively, feeling a surge of protectiveness. No, let me, Kim insisted, stepping ahead. The way she knelt down to meet the girl's gaze showed her natural instinct to care. What's your name? Ella, the girl whispered, her face streaked with dirt and fear. Ella, we're all here for you. Can you help us find your mom? I watched in awe as Kim's compassion wrapped around Ella like a warm blanket. It was a reminder of the human connection we had almost forgotten in our frantic race against the storm. Look, Kim continued, nudging Ella gently. You see all those people? She pointed toward the others huddled around tables. They want to help. We can find your mom together. Ella's shoulders relaxed slightly as she nodded, finding a sliver of hope in Kim's steady presence. Goosebumps rose on my arms as I witnessed Kim's effect on others, her kindness dissolving the fear that gripped this community. As they began their search, I moved back to the assembly line, my heart still racing. The sound of thunder rolled overhead, but in that moment, the storm felt secondary to the magic we were creating inside. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving amidst the chaos. More volunteers trickled in, drawn by the sound of children laughing and the purpose pulsing through the room. The togetherness felt palpable, and I remembered the plans Kim and I had discussed outside, to organize efforts to reach out. Maybe this was more than just a temporary shelter. Perhaps we were building roots when the storm subsided. Its promise of danger still loomed just beyond the center's walls. People lunged into action, but something else stirred within me. This community had been more than I ever anticipated. I hadn't just seen the resilience, I had felt its the last of the care packages were assembled and everyone gathered for a drink of hot cocoa. Ella returned, her mother with her, tears of relief in their eyes. The cheers that erupted were like music, a celebration of unity forged in what could have been despair. What if we could keep this spirit alive once the storm passed? What if I tried to help this community not just today but every day? There was a pull in my heart, a tug of responsibility. Maybe my shift from a sheltering father to an active participant could rewrite my own narrative too. Would Kim join me in this vision? And as I looked into her eyes brimming with hope and determination, I saw the potential for something greater. But that thunder was still lingering in the air, a reminder that we weren't out of the woods just yet. What awaited us when the skies finally cleared? Would we be able to hold onto this newfound connection when the storm of life truly hit? The sound of laughter mingled with the aroma of hot cocoa, as I absorbed the sense of community that enveloped us. Ella and her mother shared a tender moment, each wiping away tears while words of gratitude poured from their lips. I felt a lump in my throat as I imagined the moments they would cherish together, the fears slowly ebbing away. Beside me, Kim had a way of moving through the crowd, connecting with individuals. Her laughter was warm, bouncing off the walls, and she seemed genuinely happy, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a temporary shelter. It was a bloom of hope in the midst of despair. "Hey," she said, breaking through my thoughts. "Want to help me prepare for the next round of snacks?" I nodded, a smile creeping onto my face. Working alongside Kim felt effortless, as if we were both pieces of a puzzle fitting neatly together. As we rummaged through snack supplies, I noticed the way she handled the situation with grace, organizing chaos into something manageable. It inspired me to step up more, to contribute however I could. At that moment, Rita, one of the older women volunteering, called out from across the room, "Who can help me make sandwiches?" Before I could respond, a group of young kids dashed over, excited to assist. Their energy was contagious. Kim chuckled, shaking her head. "Looks like they don't want to miss out on any fun." As I watched the children, I caught a glimpse of my own past moments when my kids were that young, buzzing with excitement, eager to lend a helping hand. The bittersweet rush of nostalgia washed over me. I had spent so much time hiding from the storms of my own life that I forgot the joy in small acts of kindness. "Do you think they'll come back?" I asked Kim, referring to Ella and her mother. "Absolutely," she replied, her eyes shining with certainty. "This is a place for healing, for gathering strength together. Just look around." And I did. I saw people connecting over shared experiences, lending a hand when another stumbled. There were no masks worn here. Everyone was raw and genuine, exposed to the elements, their fears, hopes, and dreams laid bare. Despite the storm's lingering presence, a warmth took root inside me. I wanted to be part of this resilient web, to help weave a brighter future for those around me. What if we organized a community event once this is all over? A festival to celebrate? I trailed off, caught up in the vision. "Absolutely," Kim exclaimed, her enthusiasm sparking to life. "It could be a way to both honor this experience and strengthen our bonds. Bring everyone together." Excitement raced through me. "And we can invite local businesses, get them involved." My ideas flowed, a torrent of hope and ambition bursting forth. But just as I felt ready to take that leap, the air shifted, and an uneasy silence settled for a moment. The storm rumbled in the distance, causing a collective pause. Faces turned to the windows, anxiety creeping back in like a shadow. "Let us not forget about the bigger picture," Kim said softly, nudging my arm. "While we dream of the future, we still need to address the problems at hand. Safety first." Her words punctured my momentum, reminding me of the fragility we faced. I caught Ella's mother's eye across the room, and the unspoken connection was clear. We were united, healing together, yet still wrestling with uncertainty as the storm raged on outside. The flicker of hope inside us started to glow brighter. I wondered if we could transform this energy into something lasting, something beautiful. But could we really sustain it once the thunder quieted and the clouds dispersed? Or would life's storms knock us back and break our resolve? The question loomed as we continued to prepare. The need for unity never more vital. Would we rise above the chaos, or would we allow it to scatter us? I hoped we would find out soon. The laughter of the children filled the room again, breaking the tension that hung in the air like the rain outside. I watched as their little hands gathered around Rita, eager to spread mayonnaise over slices of bread. As they squealed in delight at each other's antics, I felt something inside me shift. Maybe, just maybe, we could create a better tomorrow, even if the storm outside threatened to steal our peace away. The aroma of freshly made sandwiches wafted through the air, mingling with the sweetness of cocoa. Kim and I continued organizing snacks, and with each spread of peanut butter and jelly, I felt a sense of purpose bloom. The task was simple, yet it felt monumental. It was our way of reaching out and providing, of bringing comfort to those who needed it most. Do you think we could add some games for the kids? I proposed, fueled by new ideas. Maybe a little carnival to lighten the mood. Kim's face lit up. That'd be amazing. They need something fun to look forward to, especially after this. She waved a hand toward the door, where the storm threatened to break through. As we worked, I caught Rita watching us with a knowing smile. You two are making a difference, she said, her voice thick with emotion. These kids need smiles to light the dark days ahead. Her words wrapped around me warm and comforting. I knew Rita was right. We weren't just preparing snacks. We were stitching together hope, crafting reminders that even the darkest clouds could part. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from outside, and the windows rattled. A sharp intake of breath rippled through the room as fear etched itself across faces once more. Children jumped, and I instinctively glanced at Kim, whose eyes were wide. Hey, it's all right, she called out, her voice steadying the crowd. Just the wind and rain, nothing we can't handle, right? I marveled at her strength and wished I could emulate it. The soft hum of shared activity soon resumed, but I felt the weight of worry linger. What if the storm escalated? Would it push us back into fear? I refocused on the task. One slice here, one spread there. But my thoughts kept darting back to the festival idea. It ignited something within me, a flicker of excitement amidst the clouds of uncertainty. Would this place become a beacon of joy? A reminder that bright days could follow even the hardest storms? Let us take a moment, Kim said suddenly, drawing attention to herself. How about we share a memory of a time when something turned out all right after a tough moment? Her suggestion washed over us like a wave. One by one, people opened up, sharing stories of resilience. A man spoke of how he lost his job but found a better opportunity when he least expected it. A woman shared how she healed after the loss of a loved one, finding solace in community similar to ours. Tears mixed with laughter, and hope began circulating again like the aroma of hot cocoa that filled the air. So raw, so real. I felt a knot of connection to my neighbors, strangers no more, but comrades in the battle against the storm. As stories flowed, I realized something had shifted. The storm outside, while still fierce, felt distant now. We were fortifying our hearts against any fear it could bring. But just as I felt a surge of bonding in the air, the lights flickered. A collective gasp resonated through the room. The power surged and then dimmed, casting us into half-light. What was that? A child whispered, staring wide-eyed at the flickering glow. We'll be okay, I assured softly, holding my breath. Let us just keep working, keep sharing. With a little faith we can weather this. My heart raced, but I struggled to keep the calm. But deep down I wondered, were we ready for what the storm might throw at us next? Would our hope withstand even the fiercest winds? As we gathered together in the dim light, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change, something profound and challenging. Would we stand firm or be swept away? Only time would tell, and my heart raced with the prospect. The flickering light cast a shadow on the faces around me. Anxiety flashed across their eyes. It was a reminder that uncertainty still loomed, even as we forged connections that felt electric. I took a deep breath and reached for the nearby box of crayons, a hopeful gesture aimed at dispelling the air of unease. Hey, how about a drawing competition? I suggested, my voice a bit louder than I intended. Let us see who can draw their favorite memory. Several children perked up at that, quickly grabbing crayons and paper. I smiled as I watched them huddle together, sharing ideas and laughter again. The atmosphere shifted, a tiny spark of joy igniting in the dim light. As they worked on their masterpieces, I turned to Kim, grateful for her unwavering spirit. You were right about sharing stories, I said. It's like we all needed the reminder that we're stronger together. Kim nodded, smiling. It's amazing what happens when we open up. Isn't it? Rita nearby leaned in closer. You know, she said softly, this community is like a tapestry. Each story adds color, strength, and depth. Together we create something beautiful. Her words resonated deep within me. It felt true. Every story shared was a thread weaving through our lives, binding us all a little tighter as we faced this storm together. But just as hope began to weave its way through the crowd, the wind howled outside with a sudden fury, rattling the windows once more. I felt a shiver run through me. Would we be tested further? Would our little sanctuary hold? Let us stay focused, I said, trying to project calm. How about we share some of those stories again? I think it really helps. Reluctantly, a few adults nodded, and slowly, the room began to shift again. One neighbor stood up and spoke of his childhood, a time filled with laughter despite the challenges. Others soon followed, sharing tales of family traditions, resilience, and the small moments of joy that kept them going. As the stories unfolded, I caught a glimpse of belonging, a sense of community drawing tighter with each word. Laughter and tears intertwined, each emotion pulling us closer, a net of warmth against the raging storm outside. Then the lights flickered again, plunging us briefly into darkness. It was in those moments of uncertainty that I felt the collective intake of breath, as anticipation filled the air. Is this storm ever going to end? One child dared to whisper, peering up at me with wide eyes. I knelt down beside him, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. Every storm passes, I promise you. Just as night gives way to dawn, we will find our way through this together. But deep down I felt a tremor of doubt. What if we weren't prepared for what was coming? A storm could bring many things, and my mind raced with possibilities. Just then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, glancing at the notification. A message flashed across the screen. Emergency alert. Severe weather warning issued. The room went silent. I looked up, meeting Kim and Rita's eyes. We all felt it, the weight of what that warning meant. The laughter faded, hearts quickening in unison. We must stay strong, I urged, though my voice held an edge of uncertainty. We can face this together. As I took a deep breath, rallying my own resolve, I couldn't shake the feeling that the next few moments would define us. Would we find new strength amidst adversity? Or would fear pull us under? The storm raged outside, and suddenly I wondered, were we truly ready for the challenges ahead? Would our bonds hold strong, or would they be tested to their limits? A flicker of doubt flashed through me, mixing with anticipation of what lay ahead. The wind wailed outside like a dog in distress, rattling the windows and causing some of the children to jump in fear. I felt my heart race along with theirs, uncertainty gnawing at the edges of my resolve. Yet there was a part of me that clung to hope, desperately trying to find that little spark of connection we rekindled just moments before. Okay, I said, my voice steadying. Why don't we do something brave? Let us draw together. I motioned toward the collection of crayons and paper strewn about the floor, eager to pull us back into that moment of joy and creativity. We can all work on a mural, a big picture of what we want to see when this storm is over. That sounds fun. A little girl shouted, her eyes lighting up with excitement. The suggestion spread a ripple of energy through the group, smiles blossoming anew as they scrambled to gather supplies. Let us make it bright. Rita chimed in, her face glowing with enthusiasm. I want to draw a big sunny field with flowers. Amidst the flurry of activity, I caught Kim's eye, our thoughts unspoken yet communicated in a shared sigh of relief. We were fighting back the darkness together. As the children got busy with their crayons, I moved around the room, leaning over others' work, admiring their creativity. I saw rainbows, puppies, and family picnics under clear skies, not a hint of the storm outside. The artwork blossomed with color, a reflection of their wishes and hopes for brighter days ahead. But then my gaze settled on one boy in particular, who seemed lost in his own world. He was drawing furiously, expression serious as he focused on his paper. Curiosity got the best of me. I knelt down beside him. What are you drawing? He didn't look up, but his voice came out steady. It's a fortress. Not just any fortress, he said, pride shimmering in his voice. It's one that can protect us from the storm. A lump formed in my throat. His words cut through the room's energy. I realized this was more than a drawing competition. It was a tangible manifestation of our collective fears and hopes. That's brilliant, I said softly. And we are all part of a fortress, aren't we? Around me the atmosphere had shifted again. This wasn't just about amusement. It became a shared act of resilience. Standing up, I turned to face everyone. Let us make this mural a symbol of our strength. Each picture we create will represent our voices, the fortress we're building together against this storm outside. Applause erupted. One by one, neighbors joined in, their creations spilling across the floor as laughter filled the room again, turning once again into that powerful tapestry of stories and resilience. Time slipped away, and just as I was beginning to feel a fragile peace, the lights flickered again, stronger this time, plunging us briefly into darkness. Gasps echoed, the children clinging to each other, eyes wide with fear. I'm here, I said, trying to reassure, feeling the weight of the moment. Let us hold tight to what we've built together. That fortress will stand strong. Then the power surged back, illuminating the room while shadows danced along the walls. My heart raced at the abrupt shift. Would this darkness loom again? I glanced at Kim and Rita, both of them nodding, palpable determination on their faces. Would our unity truly shield us from what was to come? The bell of uncertainty rang in my chest, rising louder with each passing second. And then, just as we settled back into our creative groove, a loud crash echoed from outside, a sound that felt like a breaking point. What had happened? The faces around me went pale. Just when we thought we'd found our strength, the real storm had only just begun. My heart raced as I wondered what would we face next. The room fell silent. We all turned toward the windows as another crash rang out, like thunder rolling down the street. The children huddled closer to one another, their colorful drawings forgotten. I felt the warmth of their tiny bodies as they grouped around me, a fragile line of trust that suddenly felt more essential than ever. Stay calm, I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. Remember the fortress. We're safe here. But my heart hammered. I stepped toward the window, drawn by an invisible thread of curiosity mingled with dread. Outside, wind and rain collided in a furious symphony. A tree had fallen, its roots stretching up like desperate hands. I glanced back at the kids, eyes wide and reflecting fear written all over their faces. Who wants to draw that tree? I asked, forcing a smile. Let us include it in our mural. It'll remind us of our strength. Rita raised her hand hesitantly, then looked at her friends, who seemed to find comfort in her willingness to participate. I can add it like a protector for our fortress, she said, her voice steadying. It was a small spark, but perhaps all we needed. With renewed energy, crayon to paper, the children set to work. They translated the chaos outside into vibrant strokes of color on their pages. I felt a sense of pride rising within me, watching them transform fear into something beautiful. Each child was adding their voice, an array of hopes and wishes fighting against the storm. But behind the warmth of their creativity, the growl of the wind persisted, shuddering against the walls of our refuge. Outside, I could see the branches thrashing as if mimicking the panic in our hearts. I glanced at Kim again, searching for reassurance. She caught my eye, and for a moment I saw mutual understanding. We were both terrified, but we had to be the adults. We had to be their comfort, their shield against the storm. As minutes bled into an hour, the wind had not lessened. Instead, it seemed to morph into something more aggressive, more personal. The lights flickered and buzzed again, hinting at imminent darkness. A loud thump caused the kids to jump, clutching their drawings, eyes scanning the room. What was that? My breath hitched as I instinctively moved closer to Kim and the children. Let us stay together, I urged, my heart racing with each pulse of sound that erupted from outside. Rita dropped her crayon, her face turned ash pale. What if we aren't safe? She whispered, the innocence of her voice filling my chest with a heavy ache. What if the storm comes in? It was a question I couldn't ignore. My heart dropped. I promise you, I said, kneeling so I was eye level with her. You are safe with us. This storm is outside, but we're inside our fortress. We can face anything together. Taking a deep breath, I heard from outside a desperate scraping sound like nails against glass. My stomach turned. Glancing at the windows, I noticed a dark shadow pass by, momentarily obscuring a flicker of light from the street. The tension filled the air like static. The kids looked to me, relying on my strength. What could I say? I needed to inspire them, to light their path as the storm raged on. But I also needed to know what I was truly protecting them from. I moved cautiously toward the door, resolute but anxious. Stay here, I instructed, my voice firm. Before I knew it, I gripped the handle, overwhelmed by a wave of trepidation. I had steeled myself to confront the unknown. Would the world outside reveal more danger, or would it offer us something unexpected? And as I opened the door, ready to step into the chaos, the pounding rhythm of uncertainty quickened. Would this moment define our courage, or would it break the fortress we had built? As the door creaked open, a gust of wind rushed past me, sending a chilling shiver down my spine. I squinted against the rain, the downpour feeling like needles against my skin. The world outside was a swirling tempest, branches and debris dancing dangerously in a chaotic ballet. I hesitated, searching for clarity amidst the chaos. "Jerry," Kim called, her voice cutting through the storm's roar. I caught her eye, the concern mirrored in her gaze. She stood close to the children, a protective presence wrapped around them like a warm blanket. I took a deep breath and stepped outside, the ground slick beneath my feet. "Stay back," Kim yelled, instinctively moving to follow me, but I held up a hand, urging her to remain inside. I couldn't allow fear to dictate this moment. I ventured further out, scanning the area like a soldier surveying an unseen battlefield. The remnants of the storm had taken their toll. A tree lay sprawled across the road, its roots clawing at the earth as if trying to escape. And just ahead, flashes of color caught my eye, the mural the kids had worked so hard on. The vibrant drawings stood stark against the desolate backdrop. I was amazed at how their hopeful colors seemed to shimmer with defiance. A wave of warmth washed over me. They were right. This wasn't just a storm. It was a testament to our resolve, the embodiment of strength and community. Suddenly, a loud crash from behind jerked my attention back to reality. I turned to see a section of the roof above the community center shuddering against the wind. Panic consumed me. "Kim, we need to move everyone." Her eyes widened in realization, and she sprang into action, rallying the kids with an urgency I had never seen before. "Everyone gather your things," she called out, her voice ringing with authority. The children moved to her command, their fear easing as they witnessed her strength. I rushed back inside, a mix of chaos and determination fueling every step. "Rita, can you help get the kids ready to move?" I shouted over the wind. She nodded, quickly directing others to gather supplies and ensure every child felt secure as we worked. I caught sight of Ella, her little hands clinging to her mother, who held her close. I smiled, knowing we stood together through the storm. In that moment, I felt something shift in my heart. This community, these people were not just acquaintances. They had become family. With each completed task, our fortress strengthened, a resolute barrier against the unpredictability of life. The wind howled, but so did our laughter, a defiant roar against the disarray outside. Finally, with everyone gathered just inside, I turned to Kim. "What's our next move?" Her gaze was fierce, unwavering. "Let us get everyone to the basement. It'll be the safest place for us." Together, we led them forward, the children following closely as if they were stepping into a hero's lair. We formed a chain, each child holding hands, creating an unbroken link of trust. I could see Ella's mother in the front, gratitude shining in her eyes. As we descended into the shelter below us, the last child made it inside. The storm reached a climactic roar overhead. We huddled close, the sounds of wind battering against the interior walls. I felt my heart racing but steadied by an undeniable sense of unity around me. "We'll get through this 1 minute at a time," I said, squeezing Kim's hand. She turned to me, unwavering belief shining through her eyes. As we sat in the dim light of the basement, I felt the warmth of every heart beating in rhythm with mine. "Let us share our stories," I suggested, the bright flicker of hope lingering even in the dark. Slowly, one by one, the children began to share their memories, some joyful, some serious, but all echoed the truth. Together we were stronger. As I listened, my thoughts drifted. Storms come and go, and it's the bonds we forged that remain. We may have started as neighbors, but now we stood as a family, defined not by our struggles, but by how we chose to face them. With each child's story, I felt the storm losing its grip, our collective strength building to an indomitable fortress. Finally, as Ella spoke of her favorite memory, making cookies with her mom, the winds outside began to quiet, retreating like a defeated foe. Pressure released in the air surrounding us, a shared realization that we could endure anything if we faced our fears together. As I glanced around the basement, the soft laughter and earnest words flickering like candle flames filled the space with light. And as the storm slowly passed, I felt the heavy weight of uncertainty lift, replaced by undeniable warmth of connection unity, and hope. We were a refuge for one another, intertwined like threads in a tapestry, unbreakable in the face of adversity. In the days that followed, as the sun re-emerged with a gentle warmth, so did our resolve. Bound to each other through a shared experience, we moved forward as one. I watched as Kim organized efforts to help rebuild, and I found myself right beside her, no longer just an observer, but a willing part of this incredible tapestry we had woven together. There was purpose in our hearts, and with every step taken, I knew this wasn't just about surviving a storm. It was about flourishing in the face of ice. The community rebuilt. We held a festival, a celebration of resilience, where laughter danced across the air, and the sun shone down on us like a blessing. In that moment, surrounded by our neighbors and friends, joy radiated brighter than ever. We had weathered the storm together, and with every colorful banner that fluttered in the breeze, I felt a profound truth echo within me. We are indeed stronger together. Now, as we step into the future, let us remember this experience: the strength of community, the ties of family, and the power we hold when we choose to stand united. This isn't just a story, it's an invitation. Join our journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.